Hi there, Dolly friends. I'm so glad that you came back this week because I got right to work on my house. Thank you all so much for your comments and encouragement about my new property that I'm going to be making into a laundry. I am so excited about this project. I couldn't wait to get to work. It was a beautiful day, so I took the house outside with the intention of just wiping it out with some of those sanitizing wipes, considering my plan was to sand everything, not just the metal front, but the rest of it too. But after I got the contact paper off, I can see that there's original paint there, and it's not in too terrible condition considering the house is as old as I am. It says it's to Rosemary May Doherty Donahue. I'm not really sure, but I thought that was pretty charming, and I decided that I want to keep that part there. So these were the sides where the contact paper was, and yes, there's some paint missing, but I'm not trying to totally revive it. I'm just trying to get it to work for my laundry. That line that you see going horizontally is not a break in the wood, it's just dirt, and I'm going to try to get that off. And Rosemary has drawn something here, and it looks a little bit like a spaceship to me, but I'm not really sure what she was trying to draw. But I see she put a big X across it, meaning that it didn't come out the way she wanted. I remember doing stuff like that when I was a kid. Don't you? Well, I couldn't wait to get to work on this part because this is the part that needs the most work. So I just was really taking my time. There's some old tape here. I don't know if Rosemary had taped some curtains there. That's sometimes what you see in old dolls' houses where the kids or adults really have taped something there. So I got most of it off, and I'm just using my little sander. I bought some actual sandpaper to put on my tool specifically for this project. So I'm just taking my time, and I'm trying to smooth it over because this piece, the front of the house, this tin piece will get painted. Yeah, so I just took my time with that, just trying to go over some of the rusted areas and kind of smooth them over a little bit. It's not too bad. First, I was thinking maybe I wouldn't paint this inside part. You're probably not going to see it too much, but I think I will. But I got it nice and smooth. It's kind of hard to tell right here. But I did use my magic eraser and scrubbed the inside too, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. But getting right to work on the outside here, I'm using a blade. All the decals need to come off and the rust needs to be smooth before I can do the rust converter and then paint it. The good news is I'm going to be able to leave the interior in its original condition. It doesn't need to be perfect, but I do need to get all those off so that it's an even surface. So I've just used my hand sander. This little area of rust here seems to be pretty stubborn, and I can't really get that off. I may go over the paint that's still there and the decals that are still there with my rotary tool. But look at all the rust that's coming off of it. So this was all using my hand sander that I showed you. So I did all this by hand, and it's pretty smooth, but I do need to kind of get the rest off, but I'm just too tired today. And I think I'm going to leave the outside and the inside of the house as is. I don't think I am going to sand it and paint it. I think I might put some flooring there and some wallpaper. So this was just my first go around with the dry eraser to get the doors that Rosemary had drawn and the things on the walls off. And I did a pretty good job. I'll show you again a better view of the inside. It was getting kind of dark and I was tired. Now it's the next day, and I have my small rotary tool, which I absolutely love this tool. And it's going pretty well on this part. It did start to not work as well as I got further on with the bigger paint, that little, you can see in the lower right side there. And I had to get out my large rotary tool, which I haven't used before, my Dremel, but I used it. And I got pretty much everything off here. It still needs a fine sanding, and I still need to do those parts on the very bottom that I couldn't get to with my large rotary tool. But that's going to be for next week. So in the meantime, I thought it would be fun to start making things also for the house. It can't just all be construction and exterior work. That's no fun. This is some cardstock, and I was making some shirts and things and thought I might make some buttons with that. It didn't really work out. So I took out a bunch of fabric and just have a bunch of ideas going through my mind, and I'm making my little laundry packages that I showed you in the last video. And I was using that embroidery floss, but I found some string, some vintage string that I had. I'll show you in just a moment. And I think that's going to work better because it's such a chore to peel apart the strands of the embroidery floss, and it just doesn't have enough substance to it. It makes it a little bit hard to tie. So I think the string I found is going to work perfectly. Let me show you. Here's one that I didn't quite finish, and I was trying to make some stacks of shirts. Before we get to the package, let me talk about these shirts. And I know Gretchen has made stacks of shirts for things, but before I was trying it on my own before going back and watching her video. And here's one. So this one here is from before, and the other one is after I started rewatching her videos. Thank you so much, Gretchen. This has helped me enormously. So these are just kind of my practice ones. I'm getting the hang of it. They're not perfect, but what I'd like to have is some stacks of shirts like that. And I've seen those also banded with some paper, so I think I'm going to try that too. And I took out the shelf because I like to just see how things are looking, and I really like the way it's going. I will be painting that shelf. Not sure how I want to do it, but if you have any ideas, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'm using some foam board that I had, just leftovers. I'm just using leftover stuff. And I found that stacking those makes a nice little wrap package. I did some that were just cardboard. I did some that were that actually had fabric in them. So it's just, like wrapping a present. I'm using a little bit of glue just to help it stay down. It's a little bit easier. But see on the upper left, my little spool of vintage twine. I found this at an estate sale somewhere ages ago, and it's perfect. It's not too thick that it's out of scale, so I think that looks perfect. The ones that you see already on the shelf are the ones I did with the embroidery floss, but I like this little twine. I'm going to be using that, and I'm going to make my own little spool of twine too, for the laundry. So I'm using these little rubber bands that I got at the Dollar Tree. You can use them for pretty much anything, including your hair, which I've done too, but I thought they would help secure. They're nice and small and tight, so I thought they would help secure my paper. And following Gretchen's idea of how she did her shirts, I'm making some hemmed pieces that I can use for sleeves. And you just make the little sleeves and fold them around the already wrapped shirt. You can see the one behind me there, how it's done. And Gretchen brilliantly makes a little cuff that she wraps around that unfinished end, which I think is just genius. So I was doing that too. I made some strips of the hemmed pieces so that I could just keep using them rather than doing one at a time. So I could just use them and cut them. It's a little bit fiddly to make those, but I really only need one full shirt on the top of the stack. I don't even really need collars on the ones beneath because you won't really see them. Yeah, I'd like to add some buttons, but I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that. Initially, I was going to use my tiny hole punch to punch some plastic and make some clear buttons, but my hole punch is so old and it doesn't work for beans, so I'm going to have to get another one. So I have, my options are to get a new tiny hole punch and punch some acetate or some plastic, scrap plastic, to make buttons, or to use some translucent Fimo to make some buttons. They need to be pretty tiny. I have some tiny buttons that are, for baby things, but they're still too big. And you can see in Gretchen's videos where she actually, somebody sent her some that are absolutely perfect for scale for her wedding. But she did make some of her own, and I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I am gonna make some kind of buttons. Put a little button on the cuffs and a couple buttons down the front of the shirt, I think would be good. So my plan is to have other stacks of clothing, maybe towels or sheets, that type of thing, the really crisp linen look. Yeah, this is how I was attaching the sleeve. I used this 3-in-1 glue for everything that I made today. I'm not a huge fan of it. It's kind of like hot glue. It's that stringy, sticky. It would work better if I could use tweezers because it just gets all over my fingers and then it gets all over my things. So that's what I really don't like about it. However, it works really well. It's essentially the same thing as fabric tack, and it's perfect for fabric. Anyway, I'll continue using it, but this isn't my favorite type of glue to use, just because I'm sloppy and it gets all over my fingers, as you can see. So I just used a little clothespin to tack it down while it dried, and I think it's really cute. Well, I'm going to make another stack of shirts, and here's me going through the process. So the collar is just a little strip that's tacked on the back, and I discovered just on my own while practicing making these that if you let it come down and then you cut a little diamond shape out of it, so the top of the diamond being the point above the shirt and then the sides, so you'll see there. Although I messed this one up, you'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm just trying to point out the points of the diamond. So that helped me know which shape to make. And like I said, I mess up the other side, but I get it to work. I came down a little bit too far. I really like how it's starting to look. You can see the little cone of twine that I made. It's fallen over, but I just made it out of some cardstock and wrapped the twine around it. And there was a jar of scissors in the infirmary, so I went ahead and borrowed a pair of those. And I don't really need that clothespin there, but I think I'll take it over to the house. Ah, there's my twine, and see how it looks. Here's a better close-up of the inside of the house, how clean I got it. It probably could use another pass with the dry eraser. It's very, very clean, and I don't know if I'm going to do that. I probably will add some paper, at least on the upstairs, and the downstairs walls are going to be so full of things that you're not really going to notice the walls. So I might just leave them out how it is. and I will need to finally sand the outside and finish cleaning the bottom and get ready to paint it. I'm hoping next week's video will be the painting of the outside. I'm just so excited about this project. Did I say that already? Did I say that 10 times? I have so many ideas. If you have any ideas, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I don't know what I'm going to do for the roof yet, but yeah. This little table here I think will make a nice little utility table for wrapping laundry, so I went ahead and set it there. You get the idea. I'm just playing around trying, this helps my brain solidify some of its ideas. Yeah, so my little brain is going so fast if you can't tell from this video. So I'd like to continue showing you my work on the exterior of the house and then also making more things for the inside of the house. If you want to see progress on the laundry, please come back and visit me next time in the doll cupboard.